This scene, which became the thumbnail, I do like how it captures a moment where I'm walking from the left hand side towards the right. It's more of an introductory of what's to come. It's a scene at Palace of Fine Arts, and it's a scene where I'm walking from one end to the other as the camera is being positioned far away from me as I'm heading to the next location. I do like how simplistic it is. I had intended to use the bit whereby the cyclist was also in the shot, but I felt it was too much, but then last minute made the decision to use this. I do like how off-center it is and how simplistic and focused in relation to what's to come, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's that. In the scene of the art store, what you currently see is multiple sequences that leads up to the final decision of a canvas. So I walk in from the left hand side, and then I move on to the siding on the one kind of that was nearest to me on the second scene, and then I then decided I can also capture myself moving on to the third scene. I do like how it creates three sequences that tally up to the decision of choosing a canvas. I wanted to capture myself from behind, whereby I'm sort of in the moment while there's a recording going on. This scene where I captured the Peace Pagoda, you can obviously see there's a play with hierarchy whereby I'm partially centralized to the corner while being bordered off by two poles, and then the Peace Pagoda being the main area of focus. Once again, I placed the camera right behind me because I kind of wanted to capture as much bit of me being in the moment and doing my thing, if that makes sense. I wanted the audience to feel like they were behind the camera. They controlled the zoom in and zoom out bit, hence the box in the center. It then ended up becoming this bit whereby the audience became more immersed in the space. You can obviously see how by the camera moving back and forth, you're sort of trying to fully understand the overall picture, if that makes sense. While capturing multiple photographs adjacent to the Peace Pagoda, then comes a red car, I would say red, orange, red, and then this person walking across. I do like how by me placing the camera in different places, it made it more natural in terms of capturing the entire feel and look of the environment as a whole, if that makes sense. I think it's made it seem more of this surrounding of how Japantown being a touristy bit, you can see a bunch of individuals doing shit and stuff. So yeah, this is one of my favorite scenes actually. Once again, I then document like multiple sequences of moving from A to B to C as the individual gets closer and closer and closer and closer as they walk out of the shot, and then I walk towards the camera right before moving on to the next bit. A thing I started doing in this is I kind of like the idea of sort of creating hints whereby I have multiple stills of where I'm currently at, then a lead up to being at the actual situation. So it's at Palace of Fine Art. It starts off with multiple stills whereby it's like the main portion of Palace of Fine Art, close-up portions at different surrounding points as well of Palace of Fine Art. And then it then moves on to the process of painting on plein air. My intention of documenting this scene of Palace of Fine Art in this manner was sort of to create an idea by which one can see how the painting evolved over a period of time. In this scene, my intention was to place the painting of the Palace of Fine Art right in front of the actual structure as well, where I created the painting, just to sort of see the bit of actuality in respect to what was being created. And then as I'm filming the end result, individuals then walk past, and then it then created an opportunity for birds to fly in, and then two other, I would say tourists or maybe photographers as well, then walk behind the easel. By having this whole subtle moment to focus on what's in front of you, and a lead up of tourists and photographers, and then with birds flying in, I think it's created this sort of picturesque for which one fully understood the entire composition as a whole. It also plays around with scale as well and creates some sort of perspective that sort of feels like the painting in comparison to the actual structure was being enlarged, if that makes sense. So here's the thing, in relation to the scene being the thumbnail of the second video of the on plein air painting. So here's the thing, I wasn't quite sure in terms of like the route to follow, what I wanted to present in terms of a thumbnail. When it comes to thumbnails, for me, I prefer using scenes that actually do exist rather than the whole like smiley or like the grin to sort of create emphasis and stuff. I just kind of like it having this whole natural feel about it. It was of me walking from one side to the next, but the thing is that as I was walking, I had taken multiple screenshots, but then I just wasn't sure of what bit. So currently I do like how it creates this diagonal path from one end to the next, with me partially centered off, which is what I really like about it. Bear in mind, there was a cyclist cycling from the right hand side towards the left. I kind of thought to put him as well, but once again, I think I was just leaning more towards the fact of having more of like a raw actual bit of the moment where I'm actually walking. Is a cyclist there? No. So I just decided to stick to what was there, and that's the bit of the scene. Using landscape painting, I'm not quite sure of what it's called, but I would say like a view catcher sort of thing. When it came to editing for me, there were instances whereby, let's say for instance, I didn't elaborate a bit more, or I felt what I had mentioned in the video didn't make any sense or was completely off from what I had mentioned. So during the editing process, I pretty much annotate over it just to sort of elaborate a bit more. It's very laid back and chill, for sure. Right in the process of setting up. Wait, I hope that works out. Oh well. Oh yeah, I forgot to say I've got an hour left to do this. An hour 20. In this scene, I would say that if I was to choose a new thumbnail, I think I would choose one from this scene. I do like how it's very much more real and more casual. It's just a moment of setting up the camera as well as setting up an easel as well. So if I was to choose a thumbnail, I would choose this. I think this didn't necessarily come to mind in the moment, but But then, come to think of it now, I quite like the composition. I do like how it's documented stills of me setting up an easel. And if I was to change the thumbnail, I would swap it in with one of these shots. I do like how it captures lead up to the easel that is being set up to then have panels and canvases as well. So yeah, it's one of my favorite shots actually. Alongside me painting on plein air, I wanted to just capture bits of me just staring at the camera or just casually eating or doing whatever. And in this scene, I do like how after setting up the camera and I currently stay in front of the camera, then the cyclist then rides past me, and then the moment I leave, it created the cue for which everyone could then walk and then merge as they walk towards the opposite ends, if that makes sense. So that was quite cool. Thanks for watching. I would see you guys in the next video. See ya. Bye. So here's the thing. I decided to start a podcast. First of all, I am Leslie Onumbu, a conceptual architectural designer and scenographer. So essentially, it would be a weekly podcast. And once again, you're listening to undocumented uploads. Okay, that was weird.